so that way you respect everybody else's time. So if you wish to speak tonight, if you can go back there and put your name down, most of you have already done that. We've allotted 3 minutes for each person, and then we'll go back around again because I've got this scheduled till 8:30, and I'll stay here as long as people want to talk. So you'll get 3 minutes, and then unless the room increases with the number of people, you'll have 3 minutes again, and then you'll have 3 minutes again, and again, and again, until we get to 8:30. So I'm sure we could go through multiple iterations of that, but that ensures that nobody monopolizes the time and everybody gets an equal opportunity to speak. So I just want to talk about what this meeting is and what it's not in particular. I was tasked with coming up with all of the viable options, or I won't even say viable options, all options in regards to what to do next with the meeting house in light of the vote that just recently occurred. So what we're asking you to do is provide us with that. We're going to go through a little PowerPoint here, just an introduction, and then we're going to put up on the screen a list of the ones I already have. And when you tell us, we're going to be adding to that list. So I have to come up with a list of all the options and also what the pros and cons of each of those are. And I want to do that somewhat quickly because CIP process, they're actually due May 1st, which is the end of the week. We're not going to meet that timeline, but depending on how quickly I can move, whether or not whether there's a CIP item, I need to include that as it goes through its process this summer. So that's critically important before we line up for the fall budget season. So there is, I don't have a specific timeline that was given me by the council, but I do want to get it done somewhat expeditiously. So we're hoping to get feedback. I've already talked to a number of people. Ray came to see me and provided me with actually a pretty decent list of things. What I'm going to do is what Ray provided me, I'm actually going to attach to my memo when it does go to the town council. And anybody else who wants to provide anything to me, I will take that and I will append that to that memo that I send to the council. I have spoken to the folks at the Lions Club, and there's a couple of other folks that I also spoke to about what we might do there. And Mr. Ellis also provided some pretty good feedback the other day at a council meeting just before it started, and I'm hoping he'll reiterate that and we can add that to the list as well. So that is the plan for this evening. What this is not, I'm not the person you have to convince about one course of action or the other. I don't make the decision, you know that. The council does, and ultimately, if things cost money, it's the voters. So it will be best to save that for them because, again, I don't make the decision. My job is to provide a memo with all the options and the pros and cons of each, and then it'll be up to the council to make a decision about which course of action to take next. So we're going to go through a brief PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to have you do that.
Yep. Sure. So this is just for this evening. We're going to be referring to this as the Reverend Morrison Meeting House. It's the same building that's also been known. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that one to work, unfortunately. It's also been known as the Lions Hall, the former town hall. It's at 256 Mammoth Road. And so this is what we're talking about. So this is then, and this is now. So how did we get to where we are now? And I'm just going to go through kind of the most significant incidences in basically the past 10 years of its existence. So in April 2014, this is the first significant repair that led to where we are now. The town council authorizes funds to fix the floor after an inspection in March 2014 revealed structural concerns. So the building closed, they fixed the floor. Those funds were provided by the town, and the hall reopened in May 2014. In May 2022, so 8 years later, the building use is restricted after several inspections earlier that year revealed structural concerns that also had safety implications. In September 2022, that is when the Lions Club lease ended. That is when their use of the building ended, and the building was closed to the general public while we underwent a series of evaluations on the structure itself. The first of those evaluations was presented in October 2022. Weston and Sampson provided an existing conditions report about the status of the building with a look ahead to possible redevelopment options. In October 2023, there was a second report from Weston and Sampson that had been commissioned over that summer, providing a broader conceptual presentation of the building and what a potential redevelopment scenario could look like. They presented that to the town council. There was some feedback, and based on that feedback, town staff held a first listening session for the community at the end of October that month. And then in May 2024, the Town Hall created the Lions Hall Study Committee, which was then renamed the Reverend Morrison Meeting House Study Committee, to gather input and recommend a course of action for the future. And now, end of 2024, the committee provided an overview of future options, and that included contracting Arcove, a historic preservation architectural specialist, to run an assessment on the historic conditions and preservation options. And in January 2025, there had been discussion about moving forward with a warrant article, but the council opted not to do so that year pending further study. May of 2025, Arcove delivered its report on the conditions and options for historical preservation of elements within the building. In August 2025, the building was officially closed to all access, not just general public, due to the presence of mold. And in December 2025, REARC delivered its structural analysis and cost estimates for both redevelopment and demolition. Which brings us to March 2026, where 2 warrant articles concerning the future of the Reverend Morrison Meeting House failed to gain voter support at the election. And so no repairs were funded in the fiscal year 2027 budget, either through bond or taxation. And so as we move forward through today, talking about what the options are for the future of the building, I thought it'd be helpful just to go through some of the absolute most primary concerns that need to be dealt with. And Larry, thank you for this picture. The structural integrity of the floor is obviously a significant issue. The presence of mold in the building needs to be dealt with. The failure of the electrical systems, the HVAC systems, and the fire suppression systems to meet code provisions. That all needs to be dealt with. Septic system was not permitted and is not inspected, and not really sure the condition of it. It needs to be dealt with and likely relocated. And the building has inadequate ADA access. And we're not just talking about the ramp inside in the back. We're talking about moving around. We're talking about restrooms. There's certain things that will have to be dealt with in order to do anything with the building that involves opening it again to the public.
All right, I will grab the list as you're pulling up the sheet.
Got it right here.
A couple folks just came in a few minutes afterwards. I gave my discussion, so I want to just sort of go over the rules real quick.
I got the first page here for you.
You got the first picture.
Yep.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put your comments up here, your options. We're gonna list your options up here. There's already 5 listed, and we'll build this out. We'll add whatever ones you provide to us tonight. And the objective of that
Oops.
and the speed, if you have that, I'm not worried about that, and the key issues to resolve.
I'm sorry, is there any way to make that print larger?
Yeah, can you build the screen a little bit bigger?
We're all old and our eyesight's gone.
Seasoned. I refer to us as seasoned.
I like that, whatever term you want.
Yes, it sounds better to be referred to as seasoned, because I'm seasoned too, and I can't see, that's why I have to go up there as well, to be able to see it.
Won't make it better.
All right, so let's start out with the list. And if you folks, when you do get called, if you could just come up here and just provide, so we start out with Ray, was our first person that signed in. And then Ray, remember, as we talked about, if you miss anything, I'll jump in and talk about our conversation.
Do I have to identify myself?
No, actually, don't, because this isn't a community engagement session, it's not required.
I'm Ray from Londonderry.
3 Gary Drive?
3 Gary Drive, yeah, okay. So anyway, I was actually on the committee in 2024 to look at the possibility of what to do with the building. And that was, we came to a discussion about presenting ARCO to present that to the town council, which was presented to the town council. At that point, basically our committee kind of, I don't know if it was officially sunsetted, but we didn't do anything further from that point. From there, the town basically took it over. But here's the thing that I think is really important, and that is that this is about the history of Londonderry, okay? History is really important, okay? Matthew Thornton, we got an elementary school over here, was named after Matthew Thornton, which is actually one of the signer of the Declaration of Independence. And so there were other people that were very important that built this town, okay? And so we don't have a lot of historic buildings, but we've got a couple of churches, and we have, what's the other building over here?
Range.
Huh? The Grange Hall. Yes, the Grange Hall. And then we have the Morrison House, Reverend Morrison House. And so it's kind of a problem. You see all the list of things that are wrong with it, that have to be dealt with, to correct it. Everything costs money. And where's that coming from? Okay. I brought up a couple of things that there is a possibility, maybe, to get some grant money. But the first thing that should be done, which Mr. Ellis took the initiative to put forward, that it should be put on the state register of historic buildings. Somebody thought that was going to cost the town a lot of money. I don't think that was the case. I think the person that said that was a little confused. Okay, but I think that should be followed up on, and if possible, it should be put on. Okay, the benefit of that is that perhaps if you do that, then if you want to put in for some grant money, it's possible that you might be able to get some. Not enough to do the whole thing, but some grant money. For instance, the town of Salem had a building similar to that. They put in for grant money, and they got some, enough to actually replace all the windows in the building, okay? They also put up for donations. They put a thermometer out front of the building where people could donate money to it. And I believe they raised like $750,000. That's not small change,
So, Ray,
okay?
that's at the 3 minutes. So I
Oh, okay.
No, hang on, because I want to. You covered some good things with you and I talked last time. So we've got the applying for grants. We also talked about some temporary repairs to make sure we don't do any more damage to the building. So I want to add that one. And you did talk about the thermometer and getting the word out to maybe we can get some corporate sponsors to be able to do that, because similar projects have been successful in doing that. So I want to make sure she writes that down as well. Yep. And you also provided me with quite a bit of information about other entities that might be able to help out that do some of this type of work. So I just want to add that as well.
Maybe you check with some electricians, plumbers, and so forth.
Yep.
That might be interested in donating some of their time.
Yep. Yeah, you gave me quite the extensive list that I have on my desk, so I just want to make sure we got all those listed down here. So what we'll do is someone else will come up, and you can come back again, Ray, once I go through the list.
Yeah. Okay.
Next person is David Ellis.
Okay, I will be as brief as I possibly can. I'm Dave Ellis, in case someone here doesn't know me. At this point, I am of the opinion that the town has got no money available for this for about the next year at least, and certainly not until we get to the next town meeting. And I would advocate strongly for fixing a few essential things and basically mothballing it until we can raise the funds. That, as I understand from Sean, some of this has been done, would involve repairing the roof, fixing the mould, because it's going to accelerate and just get worse and worse in a hurry. And once you've fixed it, you're going to have to find some way to turn on the heating and air conditioning. Then we can discuss what we're going to do with it at a later date. Now, having said that, I'll step down to the
Well,
next
not yet.
person.
So that's a good point. So the discussion we had was stabilizing the building so it doesn't get worse. We know we got leaks, and we think it's right around the chimney area. So Dave from DPW, Wally, is working with the school district to get their scissors lift to be able to go up there, and he's got a bucket of tar. So it doesn't cost us anything to do any of those things. One of our own people would go up there and do that to prevent the water from going in. And then once we've secured the building, the envelope of the building, then as you indicated, we could heat it up and try to get the mold out of that so it doesn't grow and get worse than what it already is. and then mothball it, like you said, until better days or we can at least develop the other options.
It gives us some time to think about it
Yep.
and figure about it.
Yep.
I mean, the only thing I would say is, in terms of the preservation, the report that our cove came in, was from Structures North, I think.
Yep.
That dealt only with what was necessary to preserve the historic building. So it didn't have anything to do with parking lot, septic, or so on.
Right.
You could preserve it as a historic structure without using it, but I don't know that the town would be receptive to that. I think possibly the putting it into use is where you're going to have to go in with one of these other things, and they were far more expensive. I think the Arcove one was about $1.5 million for the basic preservation.
No, but to your point, though, stabilizing the building is a lot lower cost value, and then hoping for a better day and develop some of the other options. So that was a good one, I thought. Larry Casey.
Did David yield his 24 seconds? Thank you. My wife and I moved to Londonderry 41 years ago. We raised 3 children here. One of the things that, or some of the things that really attracted us to this community were obviously the schools, the agricultural nature of the community, and the historic nature of the center of our town. And I feel very strongly about preserving that. The photograph that Kirsten put up earlier was a photo that I took at one of our concerts on the Common, and I often like to stand in the corner by the bandstand and do a panoramic view of the center of our town, and I would encourage you to do that. Start at the Morrison Meeting House and pan around that town center. Is very special, and I really don't want to lose it. It's a key element of that. I'm also here as the chairman of the Londonderry Arts Council, and I did serve with David and Ray and Ann on the study committee. And one of the things that I've heard on a recurring basis as people discuss the future of this building is, what are we going to do with it? It's been a community center for most of the 41 years that I've lived here in town. People came in, to have dance lessons, parties, celebrations, that sort of thing. And I will tell you right now that the Arts Council, in addition to running concerts on the Common, which puts 6,000 people on that lawn every summer, we're looking for places to hold art programming. In fact, as part of the strategic planning process, we've taken on an objective of surveying available space in town that we can use to run art programming. We already are doing something up at the Senior Center. We've got an event planned at the Parmenter Barn, but we're limited by what space we have available, and this would be a beautiful facility for art programming, and I can talk about that later in my second or third 3 minutes, but we feel very, very strongly about building our success with the Arts Council and doing it in the center of town so that it gives people a local and focused area to enjoy the arts. So that's my agenda here. I really want to see this building preserved. I want to see it put back into use as a community center, and I want to leverage it to grow the arts programming here in town.
So we've listed down community center, so if that is properly encapsulate what you're looking for.
I couldn't see it through my glasses.
But that's what we wrote up there, community center.
Right.
All right. Councilor Paul.
Well, I want to echo what everybody else has said in the room. I think that something we should look at is a cohort. So a cohort, I've talked to a few different groups and civic organizations that want to participate in this and make this a true cultural center, which would be part of the town. So people could hold comedy nights there, bands could be there, things like that, along with the weddings and everything else. I talked to the Blue Lions. They were interested in, renting it from whoever or being a part leaser and have to pay so much money to be there because they're already paying that money someplace else. So that was an interesting conversation. I talked to two of our local banks. They would be willing, and I think that is key here. We need to go out and find businesses that are willing, like Home Depot wants to have a sign, a plaque on the thing. This stage was brought to you by, or Harvey Windows. These people are in our town. Bose, we should be talking to them and bringing stuff in. I mean, besides the fixing it to move forward. I agree with Ray with the thermometer. I also think that getting sponsorships, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look at the Upper Village Hall in Derry, across the street from the East Derry Parish. It was a town-owned building that fell into disarray. I think it was in worse shape than this building. And they had a group, but they worked with the town. And they got it together, and now it's a really great functioning building across from the Taylor Library. So I think that there are a lot of examples out there. I think there is a path, and I hope that this group can move forward and maybe start some sort of a, Friends of the Meeting House, or whatever you want to call it, and have those people, like you said, like Grace said, have a thermometer, get that going, start reaching out. I went to the trades, and I talked to at least 5 local young men who were in Londonderry who cared enough about this that would love to be able, and I gave them your number, and that would love to be able to, obviously parts you have to pay for, but their time, which is the most expensive part of it, they're willing. There was a roofer, a mold remediator, an electrician, 2 plumbers, a carpenter. So all of these people, drywall guy, they were all willing to donate their time, and one painter who said he would, paint and redo some of the wood. So I think the want is out there. We just need to create a better message, to have a plan. And I think, to your point, you always need a plan, and we don't have one. So this is great. Thank you.
Just that building in Derry, who is it owned by a nonprofit? Is it owned by the town?
It's owned by it's actually owned by the town, but it's like, I'm not sure if it's leased or rented, but it's a consortium of different businesses that kind of
What's
use
the name
it.
of it again? Just one more time.
It's the Upper Village Hall.
Okay.
It's really a cool building.
Next will be Sue Jodry.
Okay, hi there. Now, one of my things was the floor, but that's definitely okay, because people on Facebook were saying, "Oh, it's collapsed," but it's all good now. The floor for the Lions Hall. The floor is okay inside.
No, it's still the same situation. It's caved in.
Oh, it is okay. I didn't think that was true. People were saying it, but I thought you said it got fixed. No, I guess.
No, it didn't.
Oh, okay. So there's one thing. Now the money that was one of the estimates of something to fix it seems huge. Was it like over $1 million? I mean, I'm not a fixer-upper or something, but it just seems like that's a huge amount. Does that know? Was it one estimate we got, or any others that we got to fix?
It wasn't. We didn't go out to bid on it. It's a construction estimate from the construction company that is doing the work for us. We asked them to give us the cost estimate to do that, to bring the building into code,
Oh, yep, okay.
the
but-
requirements. And that wasn't even the whole building. It didn't do anything with the second floor. Second floor would still not be finished because it's not ADA accessible.
Yeah. Okay, it just seems like a huge, huge amount. That's what caught me. Then I would love it to be named, maybe this the Meeting House, and take the Morrison away, because we have the Morrison House for historical. We have the Reverend Morrison, which is in tractor trailers, and it might go in place of number 2 Litchfield Road.
Morrison House.
What was that?
It's not Reverend Morrison House.
It's not?
No, it was, I just proved it.
Just stop her time there.
It's just known as the Perry House now.
Oh, all right, that,
By Hugh Moore in 1731, and we've got all the dendrochronology to prove it.
oh, okay, because maybe somehow the name
Yeah.
got to me, but,
Morrison's house was roughly where McDonald's is.
oh,
All right.
I remember a small house there. Oh, my time's up?
No,
Oh,
you're
okay,
fine.
you were looking.
We
and
paused it
disap-
so you didn't lose
It
time.
disappeared, so.
He was
like,
just
come on,
providing
but-
some information so that, just to add clarity to it.
Yeah, that was my other concern, I guess, is too many Morrison names, and people will be saying, Morrison, which one, which one, which one, 'cause... But the Reverend one might go up. The man that owns number 2 Litchfield Road wants to demo it. I don't know how far it went, but then he wanted to take the Reverend Morrison, which is in tractor trailers, and put that up there. So that's why I was thinking, okay, too many Morrisons.
But I don't think the Historical Society has agreed or discussed it yet.
Well, we've been thinking, like, what do we do with all the stuff in the tractor trailers? That's why I'm wondering if... Yeah.
If the Historical Society.
So hold on, so hold on a second. Yeah, let Sue speak, and then everybody else have a chance. Good, so we'll make sure you got plenty of time. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm all. That was it. That was the only things I had written down, I guess. Was
So just to be clear, you're suggesting that we change the name of it so that to add some clarity, or?
Yeah, keep the Morrison out, because eventually people are going to say, which Morrison? The Morrison on Pillsbury? And if the other one goes up, Reverend Morrison, there'll be how many Morrisons? That's why I just thinking too many Morrisons in town. But just meeting house or whatever would be, I think, pretty good.
So the meeting house, or?
Yeah, there you go. Right, yeah. Yeah.
We got that? Anything else you want to add in terms of things that we should have in terms of options?
No, I don't think so. That's all I thought of, I guess, all I wrote down.
If you think of something, obviously you can come back.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go through the.
Oh, yeah,
Yep,
okay.
so there's plenty of opportunity to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ann, if you'd come up.
Ann Champa, 28 Wedgewood
You
Drive.
don't have to give your address, we know that.
Thanks. Well, I know everybody else has discussed the, what they want to go in the building. I think we can accommodate everybody that wants to be there. If it's organized and we have people helping out at the building site. But I just want to mention something. We shouldn't be doing this alone. We should look into groups like the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance 7 to Save program. I worked with that program on the convent of my parish in Manchester in 2015. A Victorian building that was built in 1890. It was added to the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance 7 to Save list in 2015. And through publicity, sign waving, I was out there with the Save the Chandler building, in Manchester, numerous places in front of the bishop's house because he owned the property, and other, places to get visibility, get our message out to places you might not think of. But anyway, so it was saved. It's now, the Courier Museum originally bought it, and then it was resold to a developer who's gone through the Manchester Planning Board and got passed a program that would renovate and restore the house because the exterior of the building was needing help, and came up with a wonderful idea how to use the building. I won't go into that. So that building was saved. And I can't thank them enough because it was gorgeous inside. I also want to mention, I've gone through a list of different groups that could use the building, but I think those groups should be making the call and not me. And I've already heard from a few groups here tonight. But I won't go on and on, but I just want to say something personally about saving the building. When I came into town in 19...
And before you go too much further, you
1991.
only have 15 seconds left, so.
Okay, I just want to say, I want to see the blood drives back
No, say that
in the
again.
line. The blood drives,
Okay.
Red Cross blood
Okay, gotcha.
drives, because it's important to me. Just because, I'm going to say this.
Go ahead.
I was going there religiously I had given 28 pints of blood. I was trying to get to 30. But unfortunately, when they stick you, it didn't have, it was the hematocrit or hemoglobins that were off. And so I checked, and I found out, that's how I found out I had stage 4 cancer. That's the why I couldn't give blood. And I think it's important, just the little things we do in our, everyday lives. Something can affect, us in a big way. And if that, the blood drives weren't there, and you'd go in and you'd see Reed Page Clark, he'd sign you in, and they kind of make it an event to give blood. They have drinks and lots of goodies to eat, and it was more like a social thing. So I'm also giving a plug here for blood drives, but I'll stop now with that.
Back.
But I just want to mention that I ran to the phone because it was Eric Turcott saying that he'd help with the funding on Old Home Day. He'll have another pig roast for us. Hopefully we can do it on the Lions Hall property.
Yep.
And maybe have his truck out there for advertising. But he'll do that, and I'll be helping him. He did a couple of pig roasts for me at the Morrison House Museum, so that's why we've got a relationship with the pigs. Thank you so much.
So I just want to encapsulate what you said. So you're talking about renovation, and then it's sort of the theme that we've heard from others,
Yeah.
and then finding others who would help out to contribute the funds to do that work.
Right, and also for visibility of our issues.
Yeah, that Ray brought that up in
Yeah.
terms of the thermometer and getting it out so
Oh,
everybody
we talked
understands.
about that. But I just wanted to say a few things that
Okay, so
are important to me.
yeah, no, and I encourage you to come back once we go through the list, and you'll
Yeah.
have 3 more minutes, and we'll keep doing it until it's 8:30.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. John Wilson.
Good evening. I put together a couple suggestions here, but before I start, I'd like to make a comment about what Dave had to say about preserving the building and keeping it in good shape. It seems to me that what he's asking for goes without saying. That building is a town structure. We own it. We have an obligation not to let it deteriorate any more than it already has. And in fact, I think some of the things that happen we should start working on immediately, because, and that would be the mold, for example, because the longer you just let the mold sit there, the higher the probability is that it's going to spread. So in any case, I hope to devil that we are going to not let the building sink farther into disrepair. Okay. I took a couple different views of the way we can handle the building, okay? One of the things that struck me with the vote that we had on the Warren article, and how poorly it did. And I think one of the problems with that is if we're going to spend that kind of money, we have to end up with something that's useful, okay? Useful to everybody. And I don't think, in all due respect, that having a $3 million building, that the only time we're going to use it is on the evening sometime during the summer for arts programs and so on like that. We need an occupancy in that building, just like this building's occupied, the police department's occupied, and so on, if we're going to put $3 million into it. Okay, so the question is, we have all these buildings for all the organizations in town. So how do we find a daily user? And I think we have one, but it's a stretch, okay? I think we need to create a plan, okay, to take the existing building, do the work on it to bring it up to code, and then actually add on to it. And the objective is to end up with a purpose-built new senior center. Our senior center is has a lot. It's first of all, it's a nice building. The atmosphere is really good up there. It's well managed. Have a lot of programs, but it's small. There's a lot of programs it doesn't have. Okay. Last Monday when I was up there, I used the last parking space up. I was really surprised that all the parking space was being used. So I think it's that capacity, and I think the membership, if they all showed at once, they would be able to function. So
John,
I think
that's time. So you can come back
Yeah.
for another iteration. So I just want to make sure I encapsulate.
Okay.
So you and I talked about this already.
Okay.
Is renovating it into potentially a senior center, and then we also talked about uses during after hours too.
Yeah,
and
the
on weekends.
we can. Yeah, you can do all the stuff we do in the evening. Senior center is usually late afternoon, so we can. It's a very good, effective use of the building.
So that's time, John. So
Huh?
you just want to. That's 3 minutes. So if you
Yeah,
want to come
I'm
back.
sorry. Okay, here's the second thing. This one gets off. This gets contra. I burned it up.
Come back.
You can come back.
Everybody gets one go first.
We got till 8:30, my friend. You can come back.
Well,
That works too. All right. Next, we have Christine Perez.
I'm glad to see we're just finally doing things in a good order. Thank you for doing this. Something that I noticed, and as I say, I'm just a shot in the dark. I have no idea if it would be considered. What I noticed a lot in Europe is that they maintain the front of their historical buildings. So the front looks exactly is preserved, but behind it, they put in. You didn't start the clock, I think. Is that what she's doing? Behind it, they put new stuff. And I think you had said something about perhaps adding on. But they preserve the look of the building to be exactly the same, and they preserve a lot of the things in the building and utilize them. And then in back, it's a new building. So it's just another thought. So. And might be a less expensive one, too. So, just a thought.
Yeah, so just on that, too, Dave Ellison and I talked about that because there's a tin ceiling in there that's presently covered up, which there aren't, those are hard to find. They're hard to.
Would pull things from that historical building, but preserve the front of it so it still looks
Yeah, the
like
facade.
the meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the facade of the building, and there's also a stairway in there, too, which is pretty, the woodworking on that is hard to
Right.
find in this day and age. So there's certainly.
They did a lot of, I noticed that because you look at it and it looks like an old building that you're walking into, and then you walk into it. And usually you have to get past a foyer, which is still preserved, and then you go into something that's new and more modern. And so, just a thought.
Thank you. Tony DiFrancesco?
Thank you, Tony DiFrancesco. When I saw this on the list, it said listening meeting, so that's what I'm going to do.
So, I've got Sandy Lou and Russ, if you wanted to speak on this.
Two separate people, so that's 6.
Yeah.
I actually was, here, I'll get up here. Almost the same thing as Tony. I really did come here to listen. I don't have any great ideas, but I know a great idea. I know good ideas when I hear them. So I'm going to kind of reemphasize things that other people said. About the National Historical Registry, I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think the error in what has happened so far is we have to go to the town council with facts and details and not just like off the cuff. Hey, let's register it. Get the pros and cons. What are the real pros and cons, if there are any cons? Will we be limited? So really somebody take that on and flush out. What does it cost? What are the benefits? All of the details. So it's a formal presentation rather than doing the 5 minutes in front of town council. Similarly with Let's Apply for Grants, I've actually have quite a bit of experience in this area, been shot down, I've been awarded some variety of outcomes. You have to get the specific grant examples. what kind of grants are actually out there that would support something like this, and what kind of money do each of them offer. I think you make a database and you start grinding away at it. So we have to go from ideas during public comment to really tangibles. Thank you. Yes. I really agree with the increased utilization part that a couple of people have said, whether it's Arts Council or Senior Center. I kind of have this idea. Other people had the idea first. It wasn't me. The whole, like a little piece of it be a country store where the kids can go get candy or snacks or something like that. I think I really like the way you said it, sir, that you can't ask for $3 million and have the utilization rate that the building had prior to it being closed. It wasn't being used enough. It was very much enjoyed by the people who and the groups that were using it, but wasn't quite enough. Watching my time, I love the 3-minute thing. And I agree with Sue, I believe it is. And I actually heard Kevin Smith talk about this too. There's a name problem, so I'll call it a branding problem. It needs to be branded. And we don't need to solve it in this room right now, but that's what you do. You get people together and you brainstorm and you come up with a solid brand. There are people in this room who are very good at that. I'm not one of them. But I think those are just reiterating and kind of consolidating the next level of detail underneath each idea.
I just want to talk a little bit about this to make sure there's some clarity on the issue of the state historic list. There is no cost to do that. Actually, David Ellis did a pretty good job, I thought, of articulating that in front of the council. I'm not sure that there's anything else for the council to understand about that. There was a pretty healthy discussion in here, and he provided all the information. There is no cost. It doesn't prevent us from doing anything. You can take yourself off that list anytime you wish to.
Okay, so there's
it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't require any additional cost in terms of upgrades to the building, but it does allow us to apply for those grants that have been talked about. It's some states, when you do that, you're limited as to what you can do to the building. That's not the case with the New Hampshire list, so it offers a lot of flexibility.
Have the impression. Some
Right.
people have the impression there's a downside.
Right,
It's
and there
not the
really
National
isn't.
Historical Registry. It's a state
No, it's
historical.
state. They
Right.
qualify
Okay.
for
Sorry.
national.
Ignorance. I told you.
Well, it's not, but you're right. A lot of people thought that if we did that, we had to put special types of windows, the construction costs would go up dramatically. That's not how it works in New
Okay.
Hampshire. What it does is it allows us to apply for those grants if you're on that list, and there's no cost to the town to do that. And again, we can take it off anytime we choose to, once we're added to it.
I think explaining, yes, there are registries in other states that limit, yes, the National Registry limits, but no, that's not the case here. Because people got it in their minds and just ran with it. Anyway. Yes, and the public education.
Russ?
So no good ideas, just I like other people's ideas. No unique ideas.
Yeah, the same thing. I thought we were coming in a listening session and listen. When we came in, I thought I was signing up a sign-in sheet, not a comment sheet, but that's okay. I'll get my 2 cents worth. I don't think I have anything new to say that hasn't been said already, except for I strongly do believe that the failed votes, the two articles that failed, my guess is that's not a feeling on what the community thinks on if we should save the building or not. It's just there wasn't enough time to get people up to speed. I've been through this before with other building projects. It's taken several years. And the competing articles can confuse people. So I strongly think that securing the envelope of the building and buying time to do exactly what we're doing right now is the way to go. And it sounds like you're already, as far as securing the envelope of the building, mold needs several things to grow. The easiest one to control is moisture, and it sounds like you're already on that. So take care of the moisture. The mold that's there now will cease to grow if it doesn't have water to support it, and then we can get in there and fix it up. And if there's any assistance that's needed as far as reviewing mold studies, that kind of thing, I'd be happy to help.
Yeah, you could be pretty helpful with that. All right, is it Dasha? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hi, yes, I'm Dasha. I also was not prepared to comment, but thanks for the time anyway. I'm also on the Arts Council with Larry, who's a much better orator than me. And I just want to echo that the Arts Council is certainly interested in using the space for public arts programming, whether that's poetry readings, artist talks, maybe a semi-permanent exhibition, a place for the Wild Apple offices, or anything. I mean, there's no limit to what we can brainstorm for that. But I do want to echo a couple of comments that I thought were really on point. One is that there's a branding issue for sure. And just speaking from my perspective, when I hear Reverend Morrison House, there's a lot of people, I think, in my generation and younger who might confuse it for a religious space. And we're not sure what the purpose is just by hearing that. It's sort of a name that feels a little, I don't know, just not, it's hard to understand what it's for. And there's the confusion with the other Morrison-like spaces, so maybe we can just diversify our naming perspectives a little bit in town.
What do you think about the idea? I'll just hold the time there.
Yeah.
What do you think about the idea of calling it the Meeting House or the Old Meeting House or something of that nature?
I sort of like, I mean, it still evokes this kind of like colonial history of the space, but it doesn't suggest that it's like a non-secular spot for people who may not feel that welcome in those spaces for whatever reason, you know? And about utilization, I think it's hard to maybe, I kind of agree that it's hard to get buy-in without knowing what the space is utilized for. And to me, that's sort of one of the primary goals of this discussion is let's imagine some daytime uses. Because I'm also in my head thinking I can only really think about people showing up there in the night after work. You know, like maybe we could this is also nighttime use, but like throwing some shows. I know I'm kind of connected to experimental music in the community, so putting on some concerts, stuff like that.
Especially in the wintertime, the off-season when you can't do stuff out on the green.
Yeah, exactly. And there's not a lot of spaces around in Londonderry. Like, you really have to drive to, like, Manchester or Boston or Portsmouth for that kind of thing. We could really take advantage of us location-wise to be a hub for that kind of thing. And I don't see the timer, but I think I'm probably...
Yeah, I stopped there because I wanted to ask you a question.
Thanks. I'm sure I overshot on my shot there. Thank you.
Steve Young?
Thank you very much. I'll mention to this room, unfortunately, we won't be able to mention it to the rest of the community because many of them are on vacation right now. But I think many of you know that I'm a longtime citizen volunteer in the town. So I won't go into those details. But regarding this project, I have been associated with Paul Linderman and Derry, working on the church project, and I absolutely agree with this concept of changing the name, because that's the biggest problem that he has. Everyone thinks that it's a religious project, so nobody wants to donate or help and all that. Something I've learned from him, working with him for 15 to 20 years now. To me, what jumps right into my mind is the Londonderry Meeting House. Meeting houses are non-secular, and I think that's important, but I'm not going to go into details tonight because I've only got 2 minutes left. Specific to the issue at hand, I also worked on the Historic Property Preservation Task Force. I was the lead with John Dulford, and we visited 150 homes in Londonderry and recorded those. Those are actually recorded with the town now. There's a database on those. And if you ever want to see some visions of deliverance in Londonderry, you can go to the places we visited. We bought a connected farmhouse, which originally started in 1703 as a one-third house, and it was moved by oxen to 15 Parmenter Road, and it was completed in 1845. That is the barn year for that. We've been restoring that and renovating it for 25 years. We lifted the barn. We have a field of 14-inch by 10-inch LVLs underneath it, which it sits on top of. We didn't touch the barn at all as far as hurting it or causing any problems with it. It sits on a foundation right now that should go between now until the end of time. The little house floor is, we sistered the timbers, not like the town did it. We did it the right way. We used engineering for this, and we sistered the timbers. So what we did is we brought in lumber and sistered those timbers instead of cutting them out. And that's why your town hall floor, because it was the town hall, has been sagging. The pictures in the hall out here of the Londonderry Meeting House and those that I've seen on the internet are from our original glass negative that was in part of our personal collection. We brought in the lifters and the construction engineers to review this facility, to review your town hall, your Londonderry Meeting House.
Steve, you're at time, and I'm going to have you keep going unless Kathy wants to jump in to let you finish, because we're at the end of the list anyway.
Okay, she gave me a hand. Actually, I got his time back there. And I'll take some of Russ's time too, but I'm almost done, so I won't bother with that. But regarding, we brought these people in. They were paid professionals by me. I mean, Kathy and I paid them to lift the barn 20 feet in the air and then to bring it down. We don't say drop in their trade. They taught me that. So we lowered the building, and raise does not mean raise like everybody seems to want to do. It's to tear down the building. They toured the buildings, and they said in a typical New England accent, "Now the eaves tell the story, you know." And they pointed up at them, and the eaves of that building are absolutely pure and true. There's no sagging in those eaves. There's no issue with the eaves, because the eaves tell you the story all the way down to the foundation. So that building is worthy of saving. And this was done by Granite State building movers. They're very well known in New England, and they do work down in Boston as well. The police offered to fly under the building. For some reason, they ghosted us. It just became, to me, I'm sorry, but it was clear to me that the town didn't want solutions. To end this, Marilyn Ham once chained herself to a tree down by the coach stop, the Homestead, Plumber's Tavern, depending on what you want to call it. It's the same building at the corner of 102. And that tree is still there for us today to enjoy. Nobody took that tree down. So, and I won't pull it out, but this is a copy of the sign that doesn't exist in the front of the building anymore that we put up today. I guess that's it for free speech. Thank you.
All right. Kathy?
And thank you for extending that. Oh, you better go quick, because they cut it off of you.
Oh, I gotta cut me off. Kathy Wagner, same place as him. I'm here to advocate that we keep it, and you know that. I served as chairman of the committee that many of us in this room were on. Our goal is to preserve that building, and there's a reason, because that building built this community that we all live in. I like some of the ideas that are going on. Unfortunately, the warrant articles didn't go the way I liked them. They were dueling. They were really dueling warrant articles. They weren't explained. Obviously, after what Kevin Smith said, nobody had a clue what they were voting on. So they weren't well explained. People have no clue what that building is. I think it's always funny when you watch the old videos and the cannons out there, and it's pointing right at the old town hall. So that's a lesson for you, Sean, that we put the cannon in front of the old town hall. So we'll take it out when we have to, but not this one. This structure is as important as the Irish Scots coming here and settling in 1799 and establishing Londonderry in 1722. It's been here long before any of us, and it's going to be here forever if we take care of it. It will outlast every one of us in this room, because that's how they were built. So I guess I've got a couple questions, and can I see my time, please?
We didn't bother with it because you're at the end, so you can go ahead and...
Oh, I get to go forever? Oh, okay. And you can chime in then if I get to go forever.
So the audience gets you to pause.
So I guess I have a couple questions. I talked to a major construction firm that I work with closely.
They sent me to an architect from Portsmouth. You toured her. She's with the Preservation Alliance. She's the one that came in with the 10 and the grants and gave us a lot of information that we could do some studies on the building, and the state would pick up on half of that, I believe. I can't remember the exact figure. Has that been generated to the public, that information that the committee found out?
I'm not sure what information you're referring to, so.
Kirsten toured,
It's the 2025 article.
Okay, yep.
and she's on the Preservation Alliance Committee up at the state. She has a lot to do with it. Was that information relayed to the general public?
So all of the reports are on the town's website.
Okay, so her report is on the town website if I look at it.
So,
Excuse me, Kirsten, could you say that louder? That might not be the case.
Let me take a look. I can pull it up and see.
Okay, I just want to know.
I do know that it's been, anybody who's asked, it's been supplied, passed around, the council's got, I know that all that has happened.
Okay, so only
Workshop
people that,
out here.
right, so only people that have asked know the due diligence that our committee was doing in that room.
I wouldn't say that's true, because there's a PowerPoint presentation that I presented to the council as well that your committee did and presented. Can't remember the name of the person. It wasn't you, it was some other person who provided that. Yeah, that put that together.
I'm just, people can't go in and vote if they don't have the information, and I feel like people did not understand what they were voting for. But that's a different topic. And yes, there's plenty of things. And actually, right now, I ask myself, there's beautiful grounds with a beautiful pavilion that just if it got slapped with a coat of paint, and I'll volunteer, even though I hate painting, and I have no patience, as many of you know, to go down there and paint the thing and rent it out and let people have parties under the pavilion outside, or a yard sale or a fundraiser, and start that way. I mean, that's simple. And, I can't call him Pee-wee. Mikey Melaguti was thinking about doing that for us. There's a beautiful pavilion. It just needs a little work, and it's a start, and it gets people down there. The second phase is to have the history of that building told to the community. And then you go in and you take advantage of the talent of Tracy, and you get the grant she recommended. The only reason why you know about the tin ceiling is because of her.
No.
The only really, no, she was the one that went into the building, looked at the tin ceiling, and told us we could go with the grant.
Hold on a second, please. This is not to be a debate and argument. We're trying to get public input
Okay,
from folks.
I'm trying to give it to you. So the thing is, we have this opportunity for grants, and we know there's a way to get grants. We've been given clear guidance by somebody that does this for a living. I'm not trying to debate you. I'm just trying to say we've tried to do all of this stuff. And if this is a listening session where I feel I've put in a lot of time in my life to try to save this building, then I think we should use the knowledge that the committee worked on and got for this community. My next question is, are we still heating the building?
No. The building's
How
been shut
long
down.
have we not been heating that building?
Yeah, it's been at least over a year, if not longer.
Then I would really ask for Russ's opinion on the mold, because don't they kill mold with
The mold issue is because of the water that's gotten into the building.
where?
It's
Underneath?
No, we think most of it is around the chimneys. If you look up in the ceiling up there, when I've been in the
But
building.
I thought we turned off all the water.
Let me finish. It's not water from.
The rain?
It's the rain coming in. We think it's around the chimney. REAC looked at the roof and said the roof doesn't look like it's bad at all. We don't have curling shingles. There's a couple of places where there's sags, but the actual shingles seem to be functioning. They're not deteriorated. And the water seems to be around that second floor area, around the chimney area.
Have we looked?
No, we haven't sent anybody up there to do that. What we're going to do is, I don't know if you missed if you were in here, is we're going to send up somebody from DPW. We're going to borrow the scissors lift from the school district, and we're going to use a can of tar pitch that we have. And none of this costs us any money to at least go around that area, around the chimney, to see if that'll stop the water from coming in. And that doesn't cost us anything to do that. So that's what the plan is right now.
So if we find out that that's all the problem and it's not this super huge mold problem like the library is going through, that makes a different process for this building.
Well, again, we have to make sure no more water gets in. And then once that's done, we have to address the mold that's presently in the building. And then there's the issue of the floor, of course, that's caved in too.
Yeah, and that issue is a big issue because if we don't really start addressing that issue, and I agree with Mr. Wilson on this, it is a town property and it needs to get looked at. And if we don't start addressing the fact that the supporting beams on the floor that were holding up the walls, that we don't have too much stress on the outside walls and they start to come in, which engineers have said is a possibility, because the last time I was in there, which was 2 years ago, there was stressors on that building. That building is getting stressed. So I think the support, I think as much as the argument was we didn't want to rip up the floor, I think it's almost, that was said, I'm sorry, I have it in the minutes. We had talked about opening up the floor and trying to find out what was going on.
So if we could just stay out, because remember the goal here is for me to make sure I got all the options listed down there.
Right, and I think a very important option is to pull up, if we're not going to, we've got to look at that floor. We've got to get in under that floor to see what kind of shape that floor is in, because those buildings are all built to depend on each other. The beam over here and the beam down here and the beam. So I'm very concerned that, I know that building will stand, trust me. When we gutted the place on 15 Perimeter, the supports were just cut out by the new owners and that building will stand. But I think the floor, we have to address either getting some kind of structural, support for that floor and that building. And that was part of the argument, was that if we did open up certain holes, we could see all the cells, because you can only get so far underneath the building, because Bob Slater tried to crawl in there and he only got halfway and lost his keys, and the fire department left him and he was under the building all by himself, but that's another story. But my point is, then we can get an understanding of the sills condition, because if we only have to jack it up and put 1 or 2 replacement sills in there, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands. Oh, I'm sorry, he said I could
Yeah,
go.
she was at the end, so I just wanted to make sure I gave her time to be able to do that. And
But
not only that, you were the chairperson of that committee, and you spent a lot of time on this, so I did want to hear what you had to say about that. But if you could wrap it up so I can
Oh, no, I'm
go through the
done.
list.
I just was only going because
No, I know, and that's what I wanted you to
didn't
do.
get any cutoff. And
That's right.
Thank you.
Kathy, it was on the website. I just never like to say yes to something without knowing I'm right.
Okay, Tony,
Is it okay if I get a point of clarification?
you certainly can.
So apparently the listening part is over.
Not exactly, no.
Oh, boy. Thank you. Thank you. So, thank you for the groans. So, point of clarification, the legality of the no means no, and what did the no votes mean? Can you still have a budget item for maintenance of this town-owned building or not? And could you run through that, please? Thank
Yeah,
you.
so the only...
I missed it at the beginning, I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. So there's only 2 things that came before the voters. One was a bond article for $3.3 million to renovate the building. So that means we can't do what was outlined in that project. We cannot do that. We can't borrow the money to do that. And then there was a capital reserve fund that was being proposed for $950,000, I forget the exact amount. And that was unclear about what that was going to be used for. So that's not there anymore. But that does not prohibit us from maintaining the building. It doesn't prohibit us coming before the voters again for some other type of project. It doesn't prohibit the council from entering an agreement with a nonprofit entity to operate the building. There's a whole number of options, and we've been listing them here. So none of those things are prohibited from being done at this point.
Thank you. So in my language, you can have a line item in your budget for that building for periodic maintenance, fuel, electricity, whatever needs to be done to make it not fall down.
Yeah, as John Wilson indicated, it is a town-owned building.
Got it. And
So I do have the authority to maintain that building as long as I'm authorized to spend the money on it.
Sure. Separate issue. And so then, and clearly, it's unfortunately people screenshot stuff to me that is online, and I don't participate, but they keep sending me screenshots. It is not a forever vote. What happened in March is not forever.
Right.
It's basically a timed yearly thing. So next March, whatever can be proposed again. That exact same thing can be proposed again if someone decides they want to do that. It's not a forever vote. Never was a forever vote, has never been a forever vote. And so I wanted to get that out there so that people could hear it and hear your response to it, because clearly the legality and all the constitutional scholars that are online have differing opinions, and I wanted to make sure that that was on the record. So thank you.
Yes.
May I ask a quick question? Was that, I know the $3 million one was a bond. Was it
They can't hear you at home, Sandy.
we are over the.
Yeah,
Oh,
they can't
sorry.
hear you.
Sorry. To follow up on what Tony just said, the 3 million warrant article was a bond, correct? Was the 950 also a bond, or was it the other thing?
The 950 was a combination of using unassigned fund balance and also
that's-
raising additional taxes.
Like within a year, within that year?
Exactly.
Okay.
But it would go into a capital reserve fund that would go from one year to the other. It wouldn't lapse at the end of the year.
Right. It doesn't mean if this money fell out of the sky through excellent fundraising and grant writing, you can absolutely go forward with all of the
can.
work. Right. Okay.
Yes, the
I just wanted to follow.
town council has the authority to do that if it wishes to do that. Or there's been talk about, do we lease the building to somebody? Do we donate it to somebody? Do we sell the property? One of the discussions was demolishing that. That would require funding that's not presently in the budget.
I think, and I'll just make one short comment, I think if this building were to be torn down, there would be outrage, I think. I think there would be despair. There would be what just happened. There would be, I didn't mean for this. That's not why I didn't vote. That's not what I meant when I said no. I think people would be alarmed to see the center of the, like the historic center of town changed. And I think that's the passion that it seems like we all have in the room, is to stop something we think nobody really actually wanted to have happen. I think people had warrant article fatigue when you put the school and the town together. I think that was probably what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, there was discussion about that during the budget process to put yet another warrant article for demolition of the building. And I suggested there's no need to hurry to do that. Let's wait and see what happens with this. And the council thought that would be a better idea to do that. Because in some of the discussions, and John brought it up and others as well, in September I was asked to put together a project to put this, to find out what it would cost to renovate the building, the minimum requirements. That's a pretty short period of time. It really didn't. If you're going to do a project like this, you really need to take your time and look at who's going to use it, what are the potential uses, and John talked about that. If we're going to spend $3.3 million, what are we getting for it? What's the public value? And there wasn't sufficient time, and I was never asked to actually put that together. That's what really needed to be done before you make a decision like that. When you put $3.3 million in front of the people and you don't have a well-vetted plan, not wise. That was the decision that was made, and, well, we saw what the results of that are. So anybody can debate whether or not that was a good idea or not, or what did that actually mean. Yeah, some people would tell you, well, what are we going to use it for? Some people might have been confused about what the space was, so there's a whole lot of questions about that. And again, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you really should have a pretty well put together project, and I would suggest to you that we did not. So, next, anybody can go. Ray, you want to? Everybody's had a chance, so I'll let you.
Well, I think we've heard a lot of good ideas, and but the problem is we still don't really have a plan. So, I think there's no rush to get this back to the town council. I mean, they didn't give you a deadline date.
They did not.
Yeah. So, so I think we have an opportunity to do something. The question is, who's going to do it, and who's going to give us the permission to do it? Okay. For instance, if somebody wanted to go back to the state about putting this on the registry of historic properties, can I do that? Or do we have to go back to the town council and say, this is what we would like to do? We definitely need a plan, okay? A lot of good ideas were brought up here. What are we going to do with the building? Unfortunately, the building was not maintained over the years. So this is what we got, okay? But it is a historic structure, and it does mean something to the town. So preserving the building is important. I think we need to preserve the building. We're concerned with the heating system, the cooling system, and water getting in the building, and the mold, because we don't want the thing to deteriorate further. So can we accomplish that somehow, maybe with somebody donating their time? But whatever we get back to the town council, we got to have a plan as to what specifically we think the priorities are. And we've been recording these, and so I think we need to figure out what they are, maybe have some further discussion, and then present it back to the town council. This is what the town wants. But once again, the building, we need to make the building a little prettier than what it is. We need to put up the American flag, the state flag, and we need to put a name on the building. Okay, maybe it shouldn't be the Reverend Morrison. Maybe it should be the community building, the town hall, whatever we want to do. But we got to present a little better picture that what we're trying to accomplish. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Sure. Sure.
I'd like to echo what Ray said and what everybody said, and I think Ray's right. So we need to think of what is the first step and why does it matter? The first step would be A, getting the name, making sure this is the name, and I'm not sure exactly how you do that. So the first step is the naming of the building. This is how we're going to get there, and why does this matter? You need this because now we're going to do the second step, which would be the list. Getting on the list. List 2. This building called blah blah is going to be this. So you kind of need to take this apart. There's a lot here to digest. We need to systematically pull it apart, prioritize it, take the steps. All along, there needs to be fundraising happening, awareness happening, and like all of those building issues, keep moving forward. We need to have a progressive move forward, and we need to have a timeline. So you want to say by next year, this time, we'll have a good working plan. We're making positive steps. How long should it take to make the name? The consensus was in this audience, everybody liked the Meeting House or Londonderry Meeting House, and you could take a vote and do it democratically. And then, we got that step. Okay, maybe we put it to a high school art student or somebody who's getting into graphic design. Could you make up a logo? Maybe have a little competition. We put it out to the public, put it online, which one gets the most votes. Maybe have it at a concert on the Common. These are the logos people pick, and we move that forward. Now you're moving forward, and you're getting talk, and you're getting looky-loos, and you keep moving stuff. Maybe you start asking for some pictures of things that have happened there. Start putting together a little book of a time capsule of people. Like I have pictures of events that have happened there, and things that have gone on, and I'm sure everybody else does. And you're just kind of moving that forward. I don't know, but I think that's what we need to do, and that's what I'm hoping this does, is be able to say, step one, this is why, this is how it matters, this should take this long to do. Step two, step three, and everything should be, and hopefully next year we'll be standing here with a real, concrete thing, because everything has moved forward in a positive fashion. So when you do present to the council, they, can present it properly and it can be moved forward in a unity as opposed to, 2, 4, 3 against, whatever. I think that David should come back to the council and re-present. I can't make you do that, David, but I think you should. I think you should, and maybe bring some of these people with you and encourage them to show up and one after another, or applaud after you speak. Put some pressure to make them do what the will of the people is. Thank you.
Anybody else? John? Oh, Larry, you want to go up?
I think we've been nibbling around the edges of one of the core issues around this whole initiative. And like all of you, I was really disappointed in the outcome of the vote in March. It didn't necessarily surprise me. I wasn't optimistic about either of those moving forward, but the disparity in the vote was just kind of shocking to me. And I think part of the problem is that you look around this room, we're all familiar faces, right? You get the same people participating in things like this in the town. We have the same people voting when elections come around, and we have a lot of newcomers moving into Londonderry. We've gone through phenomenal growth. I think part of the problem that we have is that we need to be communicating in a public relations perspective to the community, and making sure that we're building that communication plan as we look at the major project plan of refurbishing the building and putting it back into service. I don't have an answer as to how you do it, but I just think there's a huge gap between the knowledge and awareness of the community and the population here, especially with newcomers, and what's getting out there. David, you put together a very wonderful article in the weeks leading up to vote in the March, and I was pleased to see that. That's an example of what we need to do. But somehow we have to reach people in this community with a message about this building and what it means to all of us who have been around here for a long time, and why it's important to preserve it. So I think we have to do that in a parallel track as we look at the major construction aspects of this.
John?
Everybody's getting something.
I just want to make a quick clarification on the state registry thing. It's the way the Division of Historic Resources handles it is that any member of the public can submit information on any property anywhere they wish, and this goes into a database. It's a thing called the Emmett database. It's just a description of why it's historic and all the rest of it. Costs nothing, affects no one, just records it. Now, to put it on the list, they have a commission that meets periodically. It's only 2 or 3 times a year. And they review what's in the database and decide if it is eligible. Then before it can be put on the list, assuming it's judged to be eligible, the owner of the property, in this case we're talking about the town, has to say, yes, we would like it to be on the register. Now, what I did back, when was it, about 18 months ago, I put in the information that got the property into the Emmett database at the Division of Historic Resources, and I put in the information that allowed that commission to review it and say that it qualified. The town at that point decided that they did not want to put it on the register. If you now decide that you want to put it on the register, it may have to go through another review. The other thing is that it is in the database at the moment as the Reverend Morrison Meeting House. And I do not know how to go about changing that if you decide to call it something else.
David, what year did you, David, what year did you do that?
It was about 18 months ago I put it in.
Just put the,
Can
Sorry.
repeat your question, because nobody will hear it.
just repeat my question too when you say it. When did you?
When did I put it in? I believe from memory it was around November, December of 2025. And it was reviewed probably about 3 months after that, because I wasn't notified until, I put it in 24. I was notified in round about April or May of 2025 that it had been found to be eligible.
Would you resubmit it so that we can see if it's eligible again? Would you be willing to do that? Repeat the question so they
Yeah. Would I be willing to resubmit it? It's already in the database. What you have to do now is to notify the Division of Historic Resources. If the town wanted to, they could send in their letter that says we'd like it to be listed, but it would be listed as the Reverend Morrison Meeting House, because that's what it's already in there as.
That's fine. The meeting house is just a short of Reverend Morrison.
No. Quick question.
Could be a DBA.
Can I ask a question? So who would we talk to find out if we do a name change? It would have to be a totally new application.
I don't know whether it would have to be a new one. You'd have to talk to the Division of Historic Resources and find out.
But to get it registered first before you do any of that. Get it on the
You'd have to, if you want it listed under a different name, I think you've got to make the name change first.
So that's our first priority.
I think we should
coming
have-
up with a name.
I think we should have some discussion in New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, because they are willing to assist us.
Yeah, that would probably be a very good place to start. Yeah.
I've asked them, they're willing to come here to assist us.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, Ray, that get them out. They've probably come across it before and say, hey, we've got this in the Emmett database as the Reverend Morrison Meeting House.
But then you
And
could say being called the meeting house or whatever.
We'd rather,
But it could still say Reverend Morrison Meeting House on the databanks, but it could
On-
be doing business as the meeting house or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's get the,
Right?
let's get the opinion from the experts.
No, I'm just saying, that's what you need to ask.
They probably run into this before.
yeah, I would imagine they have.
I'm sure they have.
Hmm.
No, not a question for you. Thank you for all your
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Who else would like to speak?
I just want to add one thing. I have an idea.
Oh, God.
Oh, I know. Look at the age of us. We're as old as the building. I know. I mean, look at the age of us, okay? And I agree with your comment that if it was torn down, people would be outraged. But who would be the people that would be outraged? You need to get the information about this out to the new people in town, the younger people. And I have a suggestion. Concerts on the Common. The building is right there. You're looking at it. Could we perhaps put up some type of three-sided thingy-do that would, with pictures of it, yeah, and say, huh?
Third grade is a diorama.
Whatever. But to publicize the meeting house to all these new young families that are here, and, would you like to donate? Would you like to donate your time? That's when you could do the name. But we have 6,000 people that come to, you said, at Concerts on the Common. And I think, I'm going to tell you quite honestly, I think there's a whole big group of new young people who really don't care as much as we do.
Okay, we know that.
Yeah.
I think there are some that care.
Well, I didn't say all of them. I said I think there's a group. There's a group that don't even know about it. I mean, we've had people come up here and say, knock it down and put an ice skating rink up. So I just think we need, and concerts on the common would be a great way to advertise. Is that a question for me?
No.
Okay.
I'm telling you that we would support that.
You would support that, concerts on the common?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, if you wanted to run some sort of an information event across the street before the concert, while people are getting out of their cars to walk on the common, I would say that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I just think to get the information out, we're going to renovate it, we're going to put up a thing-you-do, we're going to do this.
We need the thermometer then, to
Yeah,
have that
we-
before the commons, before the concerts start. That's like June. You're in a time.
John, why don't you come on up, because you've tried to get up several different times, sir.
Okay.
We have plenty of time. We have till 8:30, so we got time.
Before he does that, can I clear the record? I think Christine meant to send wanted to say the age of some of you. I'm sure she wasn't including me. I'm very certain of that.
I'm 16 when I look in the mirror.
We'll note that for the record, Tony.
Thank you.
Some of your younger friends.
Thank you.
I think we're
You are so sharp for an 82-year-old.
John has the floor. Go ahead, John.
A lot of good things have been said tonight and so on, and how to do various and sundry things. But I think one of the things that needs to be done, okay, is, for the first thing is, this can't be the last meeting like this. We have to structure and get organized and set up
We've only begun.
the next meeting. But the other thing that's coming across as I'm sitting here, because I haven't paid that much attention over the last 5 or 6 months to this problem. But it sounds like an awful lot, I shouldn't say an awful lot, but a lot of people in this room have done a lot of work already, okay? And that information is in their heads, it's on their computers and so on. All the things that we know, all the things that we've tried, all the people that we've talked to, needs to be pulled together in one place, because I think it would be valuable information to have. So we can, information is always valuable, okay? Every meeting you have, you're gonna find out that you don't know something that you have to go and find out. So I think that'd be the first step, if we could just get all the information. I don't know if we wanna put it on the town's computer, I don't see why we can't, but try to pull all this data together. And if everybody's agreeable, why don't we set a date right now? When should we get back together again on this problem?
Committee.
Huh?
Everybody put $50 on the table right now. Let's go. Get invested. Get invested. Let's go. I can front you some cash. if you need.
I think the new priority is the name and that's the name. You better go see before the end.
Steve wanted.
Oh, Steve.
Doesn't matter to me. I just had to walk up. It takes me so long to get up from the back row. Gosh. I don't know. You all look young to me. First of all, Sean, thank you for having a listening session. I think that's important, and I appreciate that, you guys doing it. I just wanted to say there's a couple of points that I wrote down when I was in the back, and I concur on the vote being valid. I mean, the vote was valid. It was made. But it's not the end. And this is based on my 21 years of budget committee and school board. It's not like a town meeting where we can then open the floor up and then re-vote on something that the state is going to then strike down because we opened it up at the last minute in order to get the thing to pass. It didn't pass, on the ballot. And then we got rid of town meeting anyways. But the internet myths that are occurring, I can't recall who brought that up, but yeah, the internet myths are just amazing that are out there. And there's another one too that just keeps popping up. Cold is not bad for these structures. If cold were bad for these structures, then the barn across from the Max Homestead farmhouse, the barn at the Morrison house, And every other barn and structure in town that isn't heated would be falling down and gone into disrepair. I get that, and that was good new information that I had not had previous to this evening, that the chimney structure was causing leaking into the building.
It seems to be around that area.
Yeah, no, and apparently around that area, but you need to do some more investigation. I understand that. We saw quite a bit of that at the farmhouse that I've been renovating, and we saw blowback or blowouts of the chimney where the fires had escaped and started to char the structure. But for that reason, I actually removed all chimneys because technology today exists in order to heat the facility without that chimney. Now, I'd love to put the center chimney back in one day because somebody took it out back in the 20s to modernize the house, but don't need to go into the detail on that. We really do not need, and this is another internet myth thing, or maybe it's a town thing, we really don't need to target the ADA and making it pretty and all that. We need to make sure that we're keeping the dollars low just to get started. We need to preserve it. And that, to me, is the main mission, is to preserve it so it doesn't fall down, so it doesn't go into disrepair, further disrepair. It doesn't have those problems. You do have that issue with the floor, and there was some, actually, shoot, it was her, and I got to go home with her. The real issue is when you cut out that structure, when you cut those timbers out of the floor, they're not for holding up the floor, they're for holding in the walls. So now you've taken those timbers out, and now the walls can go out of the building. But she did get that right, and then that then causes the building to fail. So to me, the number one goal of this is the renovation and preservation of it, but not going into all these $3 million extras. Just get it to stay up. And that's really what we did at Parmenter. My intent there has been, still is, as we continue to work on it, is to do so much work to it that no one will tear it down because it's far enough along to keep them from, to stop them from tearing it down. That, and it's too damn close to the road. And you couldn't rebuild it anyways. The town wouldn't allow a permit to put it up. There's actually a barn that I know of that the person that now owns it should know that too, because that you can't, you can leave that one and you can fix it, but you can't put in a new one. So working with Paul Linderman on the church, that was really why I brought up the point I did about the name change or calling this something different, because he's run into that issue quite a bit. It's like everybody thinks, oh, this is a church issue, and because in his is really a church. So they have a very hard time of getting people to donate because certain people don't want to donate to a church. But the whole thing needs a really comprehensive marketing plan. Some people threw out some great ideas, and the thermometer and the raising the money, and other ideas. But you really need to look at a comprehensive marketing plan before you make any errors, like jumping right into the application with the state. And on the applications with the state, my understanding of the law, and this is again based on my school board experience, not town council experience, you really don't need permission to get these donations or these to apply for grants from the town council. What you need to do is you need to get them to accept them. So we had to vote on the school board every year to accept all the donations that were coming in.
Yeah, it's required by law.
So don't worry about that part. If you can go out and you can find somebody that's going to donate, to this. We found people to donate their time that came in and reviewed the building and gave us a lot of good information. And they didn't charge a penny, so we didn't have to go get permission. So Just my final thoughts. But
Thank you.
thank you for the listening session.
Who else would like to talk?
Steve, I can give you a ride home if you offended her.
Well, if she makes me walk, I don't think I'm gonna make it there, because I'm so damn old, according to somebody in this room.
That's what I'm saying. I can give you a ride home if you need it.
Like we, huh?
Exactly.
He's the new Reed age Clark.
Oh, stop.
Okay. I was going to say, I already brought Preservation Alliance into the Lions Hall a number of years back. So they've seen it, and they thought it was an interesting situation we have here about the floor. It was back when just the floor was dropped towards the center of the building.
Yep.
I had a couple of questions for you. Which chimney leaks? There's 2 chimneys on the building.
Yeah, so when, it's that second floor part, when you go up that second floor and you look up at the ceiling up there, all the tiles are stained right around that chimney area.
Which chimney? There's
So
a chimney
when-
on the left side of the
yeah.
building and the right.
When you go into the main part of the building.
Yep.
And there's a stairway to the right.
Yep.
You go up that stairway, you
Yep.
come up from the top.
Okay, I know where it is. Thank you. Also, let's see, what should I talk about first? There is a sign out front of the Reverend William Morrison's Meeting House that was created by a Boy Scout. It's made out of wood, and it stood there for how many years? Kathy, could you tell me when that sign was put up?
I don't know the exact date, but it was the same time all the cemeteries were done. So it's gotta be old. It's gotta be back in
I think
the
it,
80s, maybe the late 70s.
yep. And I'm glad it's stood the test of time. It may be the only wooden sign that's still left.
Yeah, it would be that one and the one on Pillsbury, the cemetery. 'Cause
Oh,
it-
the valley?
Yeah, because I think there's a light.
They modified it with plastic.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay, but I think that was one of the original.
Okay.
ones, too.
Let's see, just a couple of messages, no messages, words of wisdom. I do have the photo book that Steve Cotton gave me
You should.
of all the the problems that existed in the floor. I think after they repaired them too, you can see some issues. And I was bringing that photo book to the meetings, every meeting I went of the Reverend Morrison's Meeting House. I also was able to get in 2014, 43 hand-hewn, I believe it's 43 hand-hewn floor joists from the Reverend Morrison's Meeting House. I got a call from Councilor Jim Butler asking if the Historical Society wanted them. And I said, of course we'd take them, because at the time, we have the Reverend Morrison's, what we thought was Reverend Morrison's home, packaged away in 2 trailers with some of the cabinetry was in the Parmenter, put in the Parmenter barn, and a foundation already existing when I joined on the property. Let's see. As far as, okay. The Londonderry Lions Hall. I want to say, when I went up in the attic there, there was the actual sign that was on the building. It was in the attic. Most people who went up there didn't notice it because it had so much mouse poop on it. It was amazing how much mouse poop. I went up with Dave Wally that time. And it says Londonderry Town Hall, but it says Londonderry Lions Club, but I think they just changed the word town to Lions on that sign, and they used that. Also, asked to get there were some doors, heavy wooden doors, in the attic of the Lions, I'll call it the Lions Hall, it's easiest right now. 4 wooden doors, I believe, were the 2 entry doors, and the ones that, the main 2 entry doors, and another set that as you move from the help me, David, is this 1879 addition on the front?
No, the piece at the back was built in 17...
No, I'm talking about the front.
The front was built in
1880, 1879, okay. Between the front building and the Reverend Morrison's meeting house, I think the second set of doors go there. As you notice when you go into the building, there's no doors there. And I think and I took them, well, I didn't take them. I traded for some things with the Lions, but it was all under I would say one of the town councilors knew about it. I wanted to preserve it because as you went up the hatch into the attic, you'd stand on them. And I didn't want anything to happen to them. So that's why I asked if that they could go to the Historical Society, and we still have them over at this, either the Parmenter Barn or the carriage shed now.
I think they're down in the basement, actually, Anne.
They moved them down there?
There's 2 large, heavy green doors down in the basement.
No. They're white ones. They're huge, heavy ones. I couldn't move.
I haven't been out into the barn or the carriage shed.
Let's see. Okay. Flew trace, so sounds. I told you about the photos and the chimney leaks. And agreement was said about Paul Lindeman. I talked to him also. And also about the building across the street from the First Parish Church. It's beautifully redone inside. It's gorgeous. And Paul Lindeman said to me also about using the name of church when you're trying to get funding. It doesn't help. So there's ways you can kind of avoid that. And I think this way, if we just call it, call it the meeting house, and underneath you can put Londonderry, New Hampshire on it. You could. I think it would be good also if we recreated the original size of the sign and put it up there, either with contemporary writing or else script for the meeting house, and then Londonderry, New Hampshire can be block letters.
So this is the sign when it was actually at Town Hall?
Yeah, it's still up in the attic. I just.
Prior to 1968?
Pardon?
Prior to 1968?
Yes. Okay. Because it says Lions Hall on it now. But I think it's still there. And the other things can be found at the Morrison House Museum property. So hopefully, maybe they can be brought into reuse instead of the glass doors on the front. Okay. Or else you could even put them like flanking it as, I don't know, somehow to work them in. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, I said that to my father. He knocked me on the floor. He was a non-com, so anyways. I just wanted to bring up, thank you, Ann, for that, for what you said there. But the floor images that she's talking about, I think we really should publish those in a database on the town website, because that really would have made it a lot easier. I mean, Bob Slater crawled under the floor. The police department was willing to fly their a little aircraft through. I'm sure he saw it as a training exercise to fly underneath the building and, you know, see what was going on down there. Because at the time, the town really didn't want to break into the floor to take a look at it. You know, if it was determined the floor was okay, I think we all know the floor is not okay, and, you know, there's issues to resolve. But again, I'll just leave it with a comprehensive marketing plan is really, you know, required of this. I did a lot of graphics for Paul, donated those to him to really promote trying to get those funds and all that over at the, you know, over in Derry.
So, Ann, you did show me those pictures before. We can try to copy those, but I'm not sure what quality we're gonna get when we try to copy those or scan those, but we can try to do that if you'd like to bring those in. You did show them to me before, I've seen them.
There's two sets of photos. One that was taken by Steve Cotton and another that was taken by David Colglazer of the Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Cotton's, one thing up is clear as, but I didn't really but there, but I'll bring in the document.
Okay, so for those that can't hear, because this is on, I assume this is being taped, for those that can't hear, so those images are both from Steve Cotton and, David Copeland, yeah. They would have been useful when we were there with the building lifter and the structural engineer, the structural construction people that reviewed the building with us. So that would have been real handy. So.
But I think your point, though, if we're going to ask for $3.3 million, it needs to be a very comprehensive.
Oh, yeah.
It requires the marketing, as you indicated, to be able to say, okay, why should I vote for $3.3 million? What is the compelling public value of that?
Cheap Steve had a hard time filling that little bubble in. So yes, you are correct.
At the Bring Back the Trades, there was a robot that they had there that can go flat, and its purpose is to do exactly that. I took pictures of him because he had General Dynamics. Was it General Dynamics that brought it in? It was amazing, and that's the purpose, is to be able to go in between things. I bet they would come in and do it for us. Go to the station, take the picture.
I could fit in there.
Just for the record, Christine, just,
Fit in there, it's not that big a deal.
Christine, so hold on, I just want to, for people who are at home, Christine Perez just mentioned that at the Bring Back the Trades Expo, there was a robot from a company called General Dynamics that's meant to go in enclosed spaces. So I just, for everybody watching at home, because there was no mic.
Rick?
Okay, if I speak now?
Yes.
Okay, so look, we're talking about reusing this building, but there's a problem with the floor that we've known about for a long time, okay? The only way you're going to be able to determine what the problem is, we already know what the problem is. The repair that was done previously was not done properly, okay? Now, there seems to be some problem about putting a hole in the floor to determine what's under there. We already got the pictures. We know what the problem is. Pretty much the whole floor needs to be taken up. It doesn't mean you have to throw the wood away, but what's underneath is the problem, okay? The beams going across have to connect to the sills, and they're not properly connected. That's a problem. The other problem is we still don't know what the status of the sills are. There are granite underneath a foundation, under most of the building, which is probably okay. But usually on top of that, there are wooden sills, which then support the building. We still don't know what the condition of those are. We need to know what the condition is. Okay, if the siding on the outside needs to be removed, at least you don't have to rip it all off, but you have to determine if there's rot there, okay? And even looking at it doesn't tell you, because it can be rotten on the inside. So the floor, we have to repair that floor, okay? We have to repair what's underneath it. It's a dirt floor. We have a problem with moisture. Moisture causes rot, okay? We have to determine whether there is rot in the sills. The most important part of a building is the foundation and the roof. Now we're talking about perhaps there's some kind of a leak at the roof. That's not a big deal. That can be fixed and repaired. The foundation and the sills, we need to determine whether there's a problem with them or not. Inside the building, where there is, I don't know if it's sheetrock or whether it's horsehair and whatever, but some of that should be removed. And we're talking about, what are we talking about?
Sills.
No, we're talking about what?
Money.
What?
Money.
Money. Money is problem. No.
Talking about money.
That black stuff that grows. Mold, that's the word, okay? Usually it's at the bottom, along the bottom of the wall. So if I was doing it, I'd get in there and cut part of that off, determine where the mold is and what the problem is. Water is what causes, moisture is what causes mold. So, I could probably say more, but let's cut it off there.
Thank you, Ray.
I think the only thing we need to do right now is set another date.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. Would you say that for me?
Yeah, so point of order, I'd like to move the question. But, oops, wrong meetings. Wrong meeting, sorry.
Jonathan would be proud.
So what Ray just said was, there is no better way to spend a lot of construction money than by trying to renovate an old building. Been there, done that. Cut a building off with a chainsaw, lifted it, moved it to the other lot line, spun it 90 degrees, brought it back, connected it back together again. All it costs is money. It's not a problem. Anything can be overcome. But I will tell you, once you start opening walls, floors, whatever, in an old building, that's when the dollar signs start happening, and that's when the cash register starts going ding, 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 like a Las Vegas slot machine. And I'm telling you, it's expensive. There's no other way around it. Horsehair, plaster, and lath board, if you can find somebody that can do that, and they are there, clearly they're not cheap, because they're the only people doing it. So you're talking about a lot of money. A lot of money. I actually like Christine's idea about what's called a Hollywood facade, where it looks exactly like it looks when you're at Concerts of the Common. When you walk in the door, it's like Disneyland, because everything from the front door back is brand new. I'm telling you, what do people want? Well, they voted. How do people want to do it? We don't know. What we know is 80% of the people, on average, don't participate. We know that at the voting booth, there's a whole group of people that vote no on everything. That's not right. So not participating is not right. Voting no on everything is not right. There's another group of population that votes yes on everything. That's not right. And there's a huge part of the population that has no freaking clue what they're voting on at all. So what do the people want? Have no idea. But I can pretty much guarantee you that the 12 people in this room, might have been up to 15, whatever it was, probably are not speaking for the people, because we know 80% of the people who are not voting are just saying, just tell me how much I owe twice a year, and writing the check. That we know for a fact. So good luck with this. This is I was very fortunate in my life. I wasn't writing the checks for the stuff that I did. And I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've got my hands dirty. I've breathed in the mold. I've done all of those things. The bat guano, whatever. It's a lot of money. In-kind donations helps. And when you're all done with that, instead of a lot of money, it's just a lot of money. Pick your poison.
What's your point, Tom?
Costs a lot of money.
We already know that.
Yeah, but I like that.
A quick bit of information.
We have time. We have, well, 5 more minutes.
Just a quick bit of information. The building, the dates of the building, I'm not sure that everyone's clear on it. The back part, the main hall of the building, is the really historic piece. That was built in 1770.
You and I will have that.
No, I can prove it's 1770. I got it written down. I left a handout there. No, it was not built in 69.
So anyway, it was a few years ago.
Yeah. The town approved it in late December of 69. They started building in the summer of 70. They finished it in 70. Now, it was taken apart in 1845 and it was hauled up to where it is today. And it was re-erected in 1845. The front piece is comparatively modern. It's only 150 years old. That was built in 1879. Yeah, 1879 on a grant from Leach. Was it David Leach?
Yes.
David Leach.
Leach of the library.
Yes. It was built as primarily as the library and the town hall. Extend the town hall. But it's the old piece that we need to try and preserve.
Dave, how many buildings are there in town that are that age or older?
I don't know of any.
Any last comments? Because I just want to wrap this up. So the next step is I have to, as I indicated at the beginning of this.
Gray Dodge, your car alarm's going off. A gray Dodge, your
Oh.
car alarm's going off.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so again, my task at the beginning of this, as I indicated, is I have to produce all the options. That was the directive that was issued to me back to the town council. So I've already started this memorandum for record in that regard. I will add the comments that were provided tonight. Ray provided me with documentation that I will add to the back of that memo that we provided to the council. And anybody else who has anything they want to provide to me, I will add that information to that packet. That when that goes in front of the council, I don't have a specific date when that will occur. But I'd like to get it, again, if there's going to be something in the CIP, that needs to be done sooner than later. So I'd like to make my presentation to the council sometime in either June or July at the latest. There was a lot of talk about this, the concept of having some sort of grassroots effort to be able to put together a project for this building. That is going to require volunteers. It is going to require a leader to lead that effort, if that's going to be proposed to the council. So if somebody is thinking about doing that, I would highly suggest you find a leader and you make a presentation, because when I present my memorandum to them, after that, at some point, they're going to have to make some sort of decision. So if the recommendation from a lot of folks is that we want to have another committee start to look at this, you're going to have to figure out how that's going to be done. So I wouldn't let too much dust collect on that if that's what people would like to do. I will certainly list that as one of the options in here in that memorandum for record that I had to generate for the council. And other than that, thank you for coming here tonight. The purpose was for me to listen to you so that I can make sure I have all of the possible options that might be out there so I can present that to the town council, and you've been helpful in that regard. Some of you have talked to me outside of this meeting. You can certainly still do that. You know where I live, upstairs, to come and see me and add to that, and I would gladly do that. So thank you again for your time. Have a good night.